Cat Planet is a unique PC game released in 2009 with a minimalistic but intriguing design, containing cute cat blobs to encourage you while you make your way across the limited but expansive world that's available to explore. The controls couldn't be simpler. Arrow keys to move left and right, literally any other key to jump, and you can hold the up arrow key to increase the height of the jump. There's deadly spikes, moving obstacles, fireballs, and super annoying crows to watch out for, so this game isn't all charm and lenience. The development of this game has come a long way in its 13-year lifespan so far, despite its small community and occasional bouts of inactivity. But that didn't deter certain people from striving for perfection, and only the most dedicated can obtain world records on this underrated game. There are only 3 categories available to run, but I'm going to cover the most popular of them. This is the world record progression of Cat Planet Any %, no OoB, or out of bounds.
Like always with games this old, speedruns will have been done without video proof predating the first recorded records. Luckily, the game has an in-game timer as well, at the credits that scroll by quickly, so that encourages people to find the fastest route through the game. The very first run I was able to get my hands on could be considered a simple casual playthrough, a 17-minute and 20-second run by IHeartMySnes from January 29th, 2010. This wasn't a complete recording of the run, it's rather a montage that they put together, and for someone trying out the game for the first time, this is a reasonable time, especially considering the 172 deaths scattered throughout. Due to this being an edit rather than a proof, there's nothing to analyze here. The first known speedrun, though, was one performed by Confusion 2 months later, on March 28, 2010. This was an unprecedented leap from the previous run, having the rudimentary strategies of minimizing airtime wherever convenient, and the best part is that this run contained absolutely no deaths. We're only the second run in and there's already a flawless run in that regard, so how much lower could this category even get? Well, we're still around 13 years from the present, so rest assured there is still substantial development to be discussed. Just keep in mind that the run consists of an auto-scroller overworld segment to get you familiar with the controls and expose you to the adorable dialogue of the cat blobs, followed by the forest segment, then the lava segment with fireball cycles, with the factory segment being next, where you press switches to unblock the path to the underworld segment. To reach that final underworld segment though, a bit of backtracking through the lava segment is required, and before you know it, you'll have reached the ending trigger. To get to the next record, we'll have to fast forward 3 years later to June 12, 2013. Was Confusion's run actually this good? Probably not, but the game just entered its first phase of inactivity. Not if RBD Jellyfish had anything to say about it though, as they cut 8 whole seconds off the category on that day. Surprisingly enough, this run had a death at the very end of it, killing any chance at a sub 240. Slight optimizations were seen elsewhere though, with much less hesitation clearing obstacles overall and faster ascending of large heights. It's worth mentioning that the game has a concept of momentum embedded into it, so you don't change directions on a whim. Runners also had to be aware that the character was elastic and bouncy, so if they didn't avoid bumping into any unnecessary walls or cancel a large fall by fluttering before they hit the ground, the character would bounce in a not so ideal way. That being said though, bouncing into walls to change direction intentionally is much better than slowly losing speed and needing to accelerate again, so that was a strategy that was starting to be refined throughout the run. After Jellyfish's run, another hiatus from serious competition ensued, with the speedrun.com leaderboards being established during that time. But on December 20th, 2016, a revolutionary resource was added to the speedrun.com page. The Cat Planet Speedrun mod. Outfitted with keybinds for resetting and saving/loading to practice runs, as well as a proper in-game timer display on the bottom left corner, the Speedrun mod was exactly what this game needed to attract a thriving community. And with a community comes fierce competition. Meet liopoil. Liopoil was the first person to really push for optimization. With the help of the Speedrun mod, it was only a matter of time before the sub 240 barrier would be broken. By how much, though? Let's find out. Liopoil set his first world record on the 4th of January 2017 with a time of 2 minutes, 39 seconds, and 50 milliseconds. This was the first record ever performed with a speedrun mod copy of the game, and it introduced the death abuse strategy. Each room has a set spawn location for if you die in it, and sometimes you're able to die earlier in the room than that location. It was actually known about by Confusion's era, but there was a slight stigma towards intentionally dying to save such little time. There was actually a notable mistake in Liopoil's run, mistiming the head bonk here, which cost a second or two. So he clearly still had lots of work to do, and he would go on to lower the record down to a 238.417 a month later, then to a 238.283 a year later, on April 9th, 2018. By late 2018, a new challenger had appeared to try his hand at grinding down the category. This is Cross 107, and he would become Liopoil's main rival in this story. The two exchanged records countless times, and we're about to bear witness to one of the most insane battles in Cat Planet history. It all started when Cross achieved a time of 2 minutes 38 seconds and 117 milliseconds on November 28, 2018, and even though there was a slight mistake in this crow room, the rest was relatively clean. Liopoil would have none of it, and managed to snag the record back by a single frame on New Year's Eve 2018. This competition would persist through 2019, and luckily for you, I have another montage prepared. Cue the music. By New Year's Day of 2020, the record had been pushed all the way down to an unbelievable 232.850 by Liopoil set on August 7th, 2019. New ways of reducing momentum loss were implemented, like intentionally bonking into ceilings to drop faster, and timing the saws in the factory segment so you preserve full acceleration. A better understanding of crow movement allowed for more daring strategies.
Fun fact, this cut was discovered during blindfolded attempts by Cross.
And through all of that, a new firebar room cycle had been discovered and implemented. The cycle was actually discovered by a tasser who uploaded a 100% run of the game on April 1st, 2012, where Cross became the first human to pull it off in late March of 2019. It took a while for a visibly mistakeless run to be performed, but fast forward 5 months to Liopoil's .850, and now Cat Planet potential seemed minimal. It didn't help that Cross would only beat the record by just over a tenth of a second, a 232.717 on January 4th, 2020. Actually, he was able to manage an astounding 231.983 the day before, but unfortunately the Twitch VOD has been lost to time and it doesn't appear on the statistics chart. However, there is one more massive time save that I haven't mentioned up to this point, and it is mind-blowing. As if the new Fire Bar Room cycle wasn't already enough, now we have an even newer one. A gameplay mechanic that hasn't become relevant until this point in time is being able to stunt the amount of height you gain from a flutter by holding the down arrow key. This is crucial for fitting under the pole and not getting momentumed into the lava, and liopoil was able to conceive of the pole skip after having no access to the internet for a week around summertime that year. It would take Cross an entire month later to replicate the strategy, but he actually did it with a load in the previous room as opposed to liopoil's proof of concept. It was at this point that the possibility of sub 230 was brought up by Cross, and liopoil optimistically believed it was feasible. It saves roughly 2 seconds after all, so why not? But the problem with this pole skip is that it's ridiculously difficult. So much so that it's obviously not worth going for in runs at all, right? I mean, who in their right mind would attempt such an inconsistent maneuver when there's still theoretically time to shave from the record? Allow me to introduce the last protagonist of this tale, Lone 01. Lone seemingly appeared out of nowhere, with his very first submission being a 232.417 on October 2nd, 2020. As you might be able to surmise, the run had pole skip in it, and both Cross and liopoil were flabbergasted that someone had the patience to grind out such an unforgiving strategy. Don't be fooled, this isn't the end of the road just yet, since the run was riddled with mistakes for a time of this caliber. It wouldn't take very long for Lone to improve, as he achieved the 231.850 a mere 2 days later on October 4th, 2020. There was still a glaring mistake on the way to the Crow segment, but Lone had enough experience to keep calm and collected for the remainder of the run. Turns out, both Cross and liopoil were the ideal former champions of the category, as they had workshopped every nook and cranny of every room in this game to squeeze out remaining time save prior to Lone's arrival to the scene. This allowed them to support Lone and give him tips and tricks in order to stop bleeding time in seemingly inconspicuous ways. At this point, you may be wondering whether or not sub 230 was achieved. The journey that Lone would embark on to attempt to break this goal, the last 10-second barrier of any percent no out of bounds, was ridden with suffering and the pursuit of perfection. Run after run after run, and only an average of 1 or 2 pole skips per hour of grinding. But Lone didn't give up. Why would he when he was so close to the finish line? The milestone he had his eyes set upon since the moment he picked up this game. He even had years and years of knowledge available to him and the help of the most experienced Cat Planet runners in the world. People were expecting Lone to get the sub 230. It's a tall task with a lot of pressure, but
Lone pushed onwards. He first got a 231.167 on June 8th, 2021, and to the untrained eye, the run seems flawless.
But analyze the run further, and you can see the suboptimal fall speed after the blue switch from the lack of a ceiling bonk and a sloppy crow segment. Cross actually helped Lone polish up his crow movement prior to his last record, but evidently the stress got to him.
It would be another year before Lone picked up the grind again, and
in the hands of a less capable runner, this may have been the start of a long unlucky streak of small personal bests that always fell short in some way of the sub 230 barrier. But not Lone. He was persistent and made effective use of his practice, so without further ado, let's go through one more montage and admire how far we've come to get to this point. Here we go. And that, my friends, is not at all where the story ends. I mean, did you really expect him to just leave the record there? What's crazy is that Lone went on a grinding spree in June 2021 and achieved ridiculous times, some of which were unrecorded. Then a year later, he rediscovered the evidence for those runs, decided enough was enough, and got the 30.067 and the 29.933 on the same day, July 7th, 2022. The crowning achievement of all Cat Planet speedruns, this is the accumulation of over a decade of development. The run has subtitles made by Lone detailing his thought process and all the various nuances that the record contains, so I highly encourage you to check it out for yourself and show him some support. So yeah, that's where the record stands today. A certified, bona fide, genuine sub 230 by Lone. With the progression officially over, there are a bunch of people I'd like to thank for making this video possible. The trio of protagonists themselves, Liopoil, Cross, and Lone, thank you for indulging all of my questions and making the speedrun as interesting as it was. Without your dedication and commitment to this obscure cat game, there wouldn't be any story to tell. I'd also like to thank the people whose footage I used in the video as well, and especially to Confusion, who appeared to awake from a YouTube slumber specifically to reply to my comment asking permission for footage use. And finally, thank all of you for watching. Okay, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet, short and concise. I just wanted to say thanks for watching this video. It took me like 8 months to complete because of university and just general lack of motivation. Like, I started this project pretty much since I finished my grassy progression, so yeah, it's been a while. And yeah, I just you know, why not film a special outro, because I've shown my face in all of these progressions one way or another, so yeah. Oh, and I reached 400 subs recently, and as of recording this, I'm down at 399, but I did surpass 400 at one point, so I guess I just wanted to say thanks for 400 subs. Like, I really don't, I guess, celebrate sub goals enough, because they are kind of arbitrary, but like, yeah, 100 sub milestone is kind of important, so yeah, thanks, and yeah, anyway, bye. Short and concise, like I said.